Good evening and thank you for joining us. The federal Liberal government has released a 2023-24 spending plan.
It prioritizes spending on health care, transitioning Canadian businesses to a clean economy, and offering affordability measures to help Canadians dealing with high prices from inflation. With more, here's Glenn McGregor.
With an economy teetering on the brink of shallow recession, the new federal budget will run up a higher deficit than expected just 4 months ago. $40.1 billion in the red for the coming fiscal year, not $30.6 billion as the government predicted in the fall economic statement. All with no projected date to bring the books back into balance.
There could be a recession. Private sector economists are predicting a soft landing if there is, but the economy is definitely slowing. This means that government revenues are slowing.
New spending totals nearly $70 billion over 6 years, but that's offset by $25 billion in government spending cuts and savings. The centerpiece of this budget, incentives to stimulate investment in the green economy. A 15% tax credit to build out the supply of green electricity at a cost of $6.3 billion over 4 years, and a 30% credit for investment in clean technology manufacturing at a cost of $4.5 billion over 5 years, intended to speed up extraction of critical minerals used for batteries. The government hopes the measures will act as a foil to the massive green infrastructure incentives offered in the U.S. by the Biden administration.
Our friends and partners around the world, chief among them, the United States, are investing heavily to build clean economies and the net zero industries of tomorrow.
A big chunk of the spending comes from previously announced commitments for healthcare transfers, daycare, and dental care. There are also moves to help consumers dealing with inflation and the higher cost of living. An increase to the GST credit, rebranded as a grocery rebate that provides a maximum one-time payment of $467 to a family of 4, $2.5 billion directed to 11 million people with lower or modest income. The government says it will work to eliminate so-called junk charges, extra fees for cell phone roaming, concert tickets, or airline baggage. And it will consider following the European Union's example by mandating USB-C charging cables for electronic devices by the end of 2024. Drinkers will get a break with an increase on the excise duty on alcohol capped at 2% instead of the scheduled 6% rise. The agency responsible for airline security will get $1.8 billion over 5 years to speed processing times, but passengers will pay for it. The air traveler security charge will rise from $14.96 to $19.87 on domestic round-trip flights and $25.91 to $34.42 on international trips. This budget is based on the premise that Canada's economy will slow this year, then rebound quickly. But inflation, interest rates, and global supply chain issues are all complicating the global economic outlook and the federal government's own planning. Glenn McGregor, CTV News, Ottawa.
The lone opposition member from here in the Northwest is weighing in on the Liberal budget. Kenora MP Eric Melillo and his Conservative Party colleagues won't be supporting the document. He argues that government spending and tax increases, like the alcohol tax, are driving inflation. However, as the shadow minister for FedNor, he does note that funding is included for all federal economic development agencies.
It remains to be seen what percentage of that would come our way, but that's something I'll be watching closely. Of course, I also did notice as well, as has been the case in previous years, that Lake of the Woods has been included in terms of a sustainability and restoration fund that the government is working on. So those are certainly positive things, but of course, overall, it does remain a very high tax, high spending budget that I really think is going to make life more unaffordable for people that are facing 40-year inflation highs right now.
We'll hear from the region's 2 Liberal MPs on tomorrow's NewsHour.
City Council has decided it wants more representation on the Thunder Bay Public Library Board, even though that wasn't a request on the agenda last night.
Instead, the library CEO was asking to eliminate the 2 positions on the board, dedicated for members of local school boards, something the library stressed would have opened up opportunities to diversify, Vasilios Bellos reports.
The Thunder Bay Public Library was hoping for a restructuring of their board, though not in the way council decided.
To put it in perspective, we have 2 members on the auditorium board that we've funded for $750,000 over the last how many years, and we have 1 member on the library board for 10 times that amount.
A surprise amendment at the beginning of the discussion from Councillor Trevor Gertuga asked to increase council's representation on the board from 1 to 2 members. It was approved, going against the library's request to eliminate the dedicated seats for the public and Catholic school boards and replace those with citizen representatives. It's a move the library believes would allow for a wider range of expertise.
We're breaking bridges and not mending them.
Councillor Rajni Agarwal did not agree with this, believing a strong relationship between the library and school boards will encourage the next generation to use these services.
We need to have the users of tomorrow being introduced. And if we have that strong linkage with our school boards and bringing the students in, I think we have successorship coming forward.
One of the votes against Gertuga's amendment came from Councillor Greg Johnson. Prior to the vote, the Niebing Ward representative called Gertuga's amendment a little heavy-handed.
They want to bring in other skills, possibly visible minorities. Many of us are a part of boards and committees, and we've seen over the last couple of years that there's a bit of a struggle to get people to come to these boards and committees.
After the vote, Library CEO Richard Togman stressed that he did not agree with Council's decision. There were also concerns amongst councillors that not enough consultation was carried out with the 2 school boards about the restructuring, though Togman stands by how the board reached its request.
City Council decided tonight that they would rather limit themselves for their own reasons, but we're hoping we can do some education with them and help them understand the process of how we got to this point, and that it was a unanimous vote, including the school board reps, to eliminate their positions.
Council will now vote in 2 weeks' time on whether to ratify their decision to have more representation on the library board. The debate comes as the library prepares to potentially make major changes in their new facilities master plan, which could see the closing of branches or construction of a new centralized location. Vasilios Bellows, TVT News.
Also during the meeting, Council gave the go-ahead for the city to continue its work-from-home policy. The program began as a response to COVID-19, but is now a permanent option for some staff. Only a fraction of city employees are eligible, with just 149 people currently working from home in some capacity. A city survey found that 97% of those involved in the program say it supports their work-life balance and improves job satisfaction. Some councillors expressed concern about workplace injuries that might happen at home. City Manager Norm Gale says administration has considered this and has a policy in place, but he stresses there will always be some risk.
And in those 3 years, we've had 1 injury from working from home, and that was a repetitive strain injury that arguably would have happened anyway. That's not to say there won't be an injury at home, and that's not to say that there's no liability. May come, and we do have liability, but that liability exists regardless.
Many other Ontario municipalities, including Toronto, Ottawa, and Sudbury, had already made their work-from-home programs permanent. The city repealed its COVID-19 vaccination policy for staff last night without any discussion. Most Ontario municipalities had already done so.
The proposal to tear down Victoriaville and reopen that section of Victoria Avenue has been in the works for many years.
Planning concluding in 2020. Now 3 years later, much of the preliminary work will soon get underway. Mitchell Ringos has the details.
They're really looking forward to the future of Victoria Avenue once this very important project's complete. They're really looking forward to the future of Victoria Avenue once this very important project's complete.
Now, it will still be some time before we can see any demolition take place, as that's planned for 2024, but starting this fall as part of the first of 3 tenders, work will be commencing internally, including testing on the structure and soil, along with renovations to businesses to get them ready for an outdoor environment.
There are some buildings that are built to be, or let's say they've been changed to be exposed to an interior setting, and so those would need facade replacement or window and door replacements to be ready for the outdoors.
One of the businesses receiving renovations is Sweet Cherry Spa. Owner Scotia Kauppi is also the interim chair for the BIA and the vice chair of the Fort William Revitalization Committee. She says she might have to shut down a few times during the process and does wish communication would be better with the businesses as far as timelines, but says overall the project will add tremendous value to the area once completed.
That walk-through corridor has separated two really good parts of where people would normally want to walk and spend time. With the BIA, we are hoping that the fact that we'll have all this new space, garden space, green space, market space that are in the plans that are online will help people feel more comfortable down here as well.
And not all the businesses in the mall get the chance to stay, with a number of outlets having to relocate, including Friends of the Library, who will be moving to the lower level of the Brody Library in June. President Fran Duke says while the new location will be amazing and they are excited for the mall's plans, they're still sad to go.
I understand they've got wonderful plans. They plan to open it up and do lots of streetscaping. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all turns out. But still, we're sad to go.
And for those looking to get involved in the process, Deputer says the preferred design model is currently being finalized and will be available to the public soon, followed by an open house in May and a subsequent report to council with the findings. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
We apologize for the technical difficulties at the start of that item. The death of a worker at a local building contractor's yard has led to a $135,000 fine for health and safety violations. A 25-year-old man employed by Finway General Contractor Incorporated was fatally injured on July 16, 2021, when the arm of a front-end loader dropped while he was repairing it. The Ministry of Labor laid charges last May, alleging that the company failed to ensure safety measures and procedures were carried out in the workplace. Finway pleaded guilty to the charges and was handed the fine earlier this month.
The RFDA is facing a severe food shortage.
Officials at the Regional Food Bank are now asking the public for immediate donations so the organization can continue supplying food to food banks across the region. Jess Clement reports.
The RFDA sounded the alarm this week about the diminishing quantities of crucial food items. A perfect storm of rising costs, increasing demand, and fallout from the pandemic has left the organization empty of the usual goods that it has on hand. Executive Director Volker Krom says this is the lowest level he's seen since he started.
We have really been focusing on healthy food, and over the last couple of months, we have seen such a demand growing. It's really been a struggle. So now we're at the point now we have very few things to add to our hamper. We had a truck come in with 3 items in them, but 3 items doesn't make a hamper. And so now we're at a point where our call to action is we really need help.
While the organization will accept all donations, Krom says they are specifically looking for their 10 most needed food items that go into every hamper provided to the clients of numerous community food banks.
What we really need is the canned meats, the always peanut butter. We will take any of the protein alternatives, juices, fruits, vegetables are always really welcome. We will take, fresh or frozen food as well, because we have the resources to either prepare meals.
Monetary donations can be made on their website, and physical donations are being accepted at the RFDA headquarters on Syndicate Avenue from 8:30 to 5 on weekdays. The organization will also be holding a food drive at the Home Hardware on Memorial from March 30th to April 30th. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
It's known as the Super Bowl of bass fishing, and a Kenora angler has won it, taking home the Bassmaster Classic Trophy in Tennessee. It's the first time a Canadian has won the high-profile tournament.
Oh, Canada, you have a Bassmaster Classic champion! A wire-to-wire win for Jeff Gustafson!
Jeff Gustafson, better known as Gussie, thought he'd blown it when the fish just wouldn't bite on day 3 of the tournament. But a commanding lead from the first 2 days carried him through, and he won the tournament with just 12 fish rather than the maximum 15. His total catch of smallmouth bass weighed in at 42 pounds 7 ounces, about a pound more than the nearest competitor. Gustafson says the win was the best moment of his fishing career.
hey, that's like the number one dream that anyone who likes bass fishing or tournament fishing is that getting that opportunity on that stage. And I guess just like, yeah, dreams can come true no matter, if you want to do something, then anything's possible.
Gustafson calls the trophy his Stanley Cup. It comes with $300,000 US in prize money, which Gustafson says will keep him on the road for a while. He used a 4-inch minnow imitator for the tournament, a technique he says is popular in northwestern Ontario.
That is not a bad haul. $300 grand fishing tournament, and of course the prestige and the trophy not too bad either. Well, turning to weather now, Mitch, what do you have for us today?
Well, today was a little bit colder, and I will say no one's going to be fishing in Thunder Bay. We're in that middle ground of it's too warm for ice fishing, a little too cold to head out with a boat. Today was on the little bit of a colder side, started out around -9, feeling like -15. The wind from the southwest gusting from 9 to 21 kilometers an hour, making its way in. It just felt very cold in Thunder Bay today. It did warm up for a high of -3, feeling like -8, and we did see mostly cloudy skies. Now as we head to the region, plenty of clear skies at the moment, but there is some flurries on the way. There is clouds in Fort Frances area at -8, heading to Kenora and Dryden at -7. They could see wind chills down to -25 tonight. So some cold conditions along with some flurries pushing farther to Atikokan and Upsala, and farther northwest, even colder temperatures around -8 in Red Lake and Pickle Lake. Also seeing cloudy skies at the moment with flurries on the way. Warms up a little bit as we head farther northeast to Armstrong at -6. Also expecting flurries, only about a 30% chance, however, so they could pass by Greenstone at -4. And it does get warmer as we head to Sault Ste. Marie, currently sitting at 1 with partly cloudy skies, but they could see anywhere around from 2 to 3 centimeters of snow heading into tomorrow. Now tonight, we're not going to see any snow, but the temperatures are going to get fairly cold, down to -12, feeling like -17 with that wind chill. We're going to see clear skies throughout the night, and the wind's going to be gusting from the west-northwest, 11 to 28 kilometers an hour. And as for the look ahead for the week, there is some snow on the way on Thursday and Friday. I'll tell you a bit more about that in just a bit.
Okay, thanks, Mitch. Well, it's become an all too familiar story. Another Canadian police officer has died in the line of duty. This latest incident came last night in Quebec. We'll have all the details when your Tuesday News Hour continues.
Too many now. We have to continue to find ways to support law enforcement.